Thanks for coming along and listening to some of our ideas. We started the day with kind of this purpose in our own heads as facilitators, that we wanted to make the KES into the system centre again, kind of this hub where people do come and go and it's lively and it's bustling and it's a bit of an ideas exchange factory. The intended outcome was to improve the use of it and develop the industrial doctorate centre. I thought what would be really useful for the guys who've not been here all day is to kind of have a quick run through our agenda, take you through the processes that we used and some of the things that came out of it.
One of the first things we did was to be able to structure the problem, was briefly identify the stakeholders, of which we decided there were four: the system centre, the students, the university and the clients. And by the clients we mean the potential companies that are sponsoring the systems engineers, research engineers, and also the potential future clients as well. We organised the stakeholders into four groups around the room, organised everybody in the room into four groups, who all sat around one of these flip charts and had 5-minute sessions of perceiving the problem from this stakeholder's perception and then writing all the ideas down onto the flip charts. We'd put them all on post-it notes, and then every 5 minutes all the groups would change around in a sort of clockwise direction, and then they'd assess it from a different stakeholder perspective, and they keep going around until all four stakeholders were assessed by all four groups. All the notes then that we had on the flip charts were then moved across to the wall and grouped together. So we started to have these groups of problems which came out of the exercise. So we were able to group together these sorts of problems from these different stakeholder perspectives, and from that point change those problems into requirements for what the solutions need to begin to try and solve. So one of the things that we came out with was this here, which basically became the objectives for the system centre, which was have more natural light, have a sense of entrance, be more connected, provide more resources, have an identity, have appropriate workspaces, and have area to relax. And we thought those were the key things which really defined what we thought all the stakeholders really needed from this area.
We decided then to kind of have some ideas on how those requirements could start to be met. And the way we did this was using an ideas generation session, and this was based upon kind of the concept of speed dating. So people were split off into pairs. They were given 5 minutes overall and to discuss each individual requirement. And the process, the way that worked was that each person was given a minute initially to discuss their own thoughts, and then 3 minutes at the end to kind of bring out 3 main ideas for each requirement. And these are some of the examples of what actually came out of the mix. So for provide more resources, there were things like books, pool tables, social areas, trophy areas, play areas, stationery storage. So for ideas progression, after we'd kind of come up with all these concepts of what we might like the space to be, we thought it was very important to then visualise those ideas. So we split people up into groups of 4, again with people that they may not have necessarily worked with before, to get people talking. And we provided kind of stimuluses in the form of magazines and the internet, and kind of directed people towards resources which they could then use as precedent studies of what they may like the space to look like.
So we have 2 breakout areas and then a reception / office area. We wanted to keep that as a quiet area, so people could go in there, have a coffee, discuss things quietly while not interfering too much with the people working here. The storeroom is actually quite a nice shape for a meeting room. There's obviously issues with moving the stuff that's currently in the storeroom. If you take the ceiling tiles out, it's a massively high ceiling, and you could lift the whole area up and have storage underneath that. We had the idea of whiteboards on winches, so that you can have, because it's such a high ceiling, you can have whiteboards that disappear up when you're needing to work. As you want to sort of collaborate, you can just pull them down, scribble on them, pull them back up again. So he wants a jungle. Just wants to fill the space with plants, which yeah, I like the idea, but sustainability. Yeah. Plants on winches. Yep.
I think with our group's presentation, you might I think we were surprised actually quite how similar our schemes were when we'd done them completely separately, came back together, and in fact there was an awful lot of overlap in terms of what we'd chosen to do. So equally, I think the key thing we felt was from the morning was having an entrance to this space at this level. Also, we felt it was important that the administrative staff of the centre were down here, and I think that's critical. I think that's the only way that either of these schemes are going to work, because that sort of gives the presence of the sort of centre within this space. I think the major difference with our scheme is that we felt it was quite important to have a quiet space in which you could sit and read papers and books and things. So in fact we've gone for a partition all the way down this widthway of the building. In fact, so you get fantastic light coming in from this side and views up to the tower and things which aren't really utilised. We kept the idea of the mezzanine space in. One of the things that came really strongly from this morning was it would be really nice to have our own systems library within this space. This space would be really open and have the sofas and tables and uses. I think you're going to talk about how we can use that space to show the identity of the centre.
One of the things obviously that came through was how do we show people that this is a centre? How do we make this the focus of the system centre? As you come through the door, faced in front of you is we came up with some sort of impact statement. So a sculpture, something which shows off the centre. Now this may be simply a showcase wall with technology, a sponsored wall, something that really shows what's going on in all the projects. And we came up with the idea of having a systems tree, and the tree actually comes up in the middle of this open space, and all the branches were actually the different industries that linked into this tree.
Thanks for coming, and I hope you enjoy the presentations, and I hope they're useful and some of the points are taken on board, because there's been a lot of thought and time put into this from everyone in the room. Thank you.